Welcome to another episode of Class Haven Farm. So what do we got going on today? Well, today I was going to do an unboxing of this Vevor electric netting, but as you can see, I've already had to unbox this, and there's a reason for that. So we're going to do a review of this. We got to get the IBC totes loaded off of the SureTrack trailer, and we need to get the broilers moved down to the bottom pasture. So stay tuned. This is your first time here at the channel, welcome. My name is Andy and this is Class Haven Farm. So as I told you guys, we were going to do an unboxing here of the Vevor electrified netting, but we had a problem. So I think last week, I worked like 75 hours last week and still coached the Chicken Whisperers baseball team and, took care of everything here around the house. As you can see, we got a whole bunch of IBC totes. So we picked up 73 of those. So they are literally scattered around the house right now because in typical Maryland fashion, we are just tons of rain and tons of just nasty weather going on. So I've just kind of been dropping them here. This isn't where they're staying. This is just where they are for now. So in between working 75 hours and running IBC totes and doing 8 at a time for 73, and I did have some of you comment, hey, why didn't you double stack them? So I'm going to address that real quick. The reason why I don't double stack them is because there's nowhere here on my property that's level enough for me to feel comfortable with the 790 going and picking them up. Now, most of these IBC totes are, they're empty. They had mulch dye in them, but some of them still have a good amount of mulch dye down in the bottom. And when that stuff gets sloshing around and being on uneven ground and a 790, and you don't want to do that. So I just played it safe, did 8 at a time. And to be perfectly honest with you, it was probably better doing 8 at a time just because of the weather and stuff going on. So let's look at what we're doing today. The reason for the netting being up is because in between working all those crazy hours and everything going on, I moved the broilers out into our chicken tractor here. All right. So last year, no problems, no issues with having them here. This year, definitely had a problem. So I put them out on their first day, and that morning I got home at like 2:30, 2 o'clock, somewhere in there in the morning. And when I came home, they were all huddled up in here and everything was fine. When I came back out at 6 in the morning to check on them and get ready for my day, I had a dig mark underneath, and my guess would be a fox came over and grabbed 5 of them. Now, what I think is going on is I think we have a den because I put Ruby on it, my beagle, and Ruby literally sniffed out the trail of where it was. And I'm pretty sure I've narrowed down where the den is. So I think that's probably what happened. I think this thing was coming up, grabbing one, taking it back to the pups, grabbing one, taking it back to the pups. And broilers are not the smartest chicken in the world. So they just, instead of moving away, they stayed right there. Now I do have the solar motion lights here, but what I found was one of these lights here on the side was not turned on, so it didn't come on. So I don't know if maybe that didn't help. Obviously, with it being pup season and, the mama fox or father fox is trying to feed everybody, so I don't really think that it mattered. But what I did is I went ahead and set this Vevor netting up just for now. It hasn't been electrified, but I just at least set it up to give me a barrier, and I haven't had any problems since I set it up. So the game plan this morning is I need to get these IBC totes unloaded. This is the last load that I have. My neighbor next door needs to borrow the SureTrack trailer, so I'm going to let him do that. But before he does that, I'm going to I'll load the broilers up, and then we're going to load this chicken tractor onto the trailer. I'll hook the trailer up to the 790, and we'll tow that down to the bottom pasture and get it set up. And I'll start setting this Vevor netting up. So if you're interested in this Vevor netting, there is a link down in the description. As some of you know, we are affiliates with the company. So if you're interested in this stuff, this is the complete kit. So this is 100-foot with the solar charger, with everything. I will say having Premier One netting for a number of years, I do feel like the Premier One netting is a better quality, but for the price of this and for what I'm using it for, I think this is going to work out good. We're using this for our broilers and then our turkeys when they come later on in July. So that's what we're going to be using this for. We'll kind of check it out. I do like that it's really lightweight, and we'll get into all the details of the things that I like about this netting as opposed to the more expensive Premier One stuff. All right, so with that being said, let's I'm going to go ahead and get these IBC totes unloaded off the SureTrack trailer, and then we will get the broilers loaded up. We will get the chicken tractor loaded up on the SureTrack trailer and get that thing down to the bottom pasture. All right, we are hooked up. We are backed up to the broilers, and Chicken Whisperer and the Lily Tamer are going to herd the chickens into these boxes, and then we'll get this chicken tractor moved on to the SureTrack trailer. And the kids are working together to get these chickens herded into the boxes, and then we will load the chicken tractor onto this trailer and take it down to bottom pasture. Good teamwork, guys. All right, so we got 7 in each box. So let's get this thing loaded up, get them out of here. Here we go. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. All right, I get these boxes out of here because that's the boxes from the broilers. So I've noticed I tend to like to use boxes to move my broilers around, only because when I'm done and it's got all the chicken manure in it, I can just take them to the dump and get rid of them or throw them in the compost or whatever. All right, so the Vevor netting. To give you the exact model, and again, down in the description, you can click the link for this to help support the channel if you decide to make a purchase. Something huge just fell through the woods. I don't know what that was. Dogs are in, so it's not my dogs. So I've been a tree branch. I don't know. This is the 48-inch high by 100-foot long fencing. It does have the charger with it. So this is the roll of fencing here. It came in this box. And again, as you guys know from the beginning of this video, had to do an untraditional boxing because of the situation that I was in. So it gives you these green spikes to help spike down the bottom if you should have some loose spots. It gives you some additional netting here in case you have a tear, and it gives you a repair kit. So if you have to repair anything, you have that. Obviously, you have instructions here. You also have these spikes that you can use to help hold spots of your netting down if it should come loose. And it gives you 2 bags of those, and it gives you some of this line here that you can use to pull the posts tight to shore them up. So if they're leaning, you can pull them over and use this to pull all that around. As I said before, this netting is definitely a lot lighter than the Premier One double spike netting, and it's even lighter than the single spike netting that I have for the goats, which I kind of like. That it's lightweight, especially for the application that I'm using it for here with the broilers. So the broilers, I will move them every day, but once they get to the point where I've moved them on that 100-foot section of this fencing, then obviously I'll move the fencing to a different section, move the broilers on there. So yeah, I think it's going to work out pretty good. So here is the charger. Never used their chargers before, never used the Vevor netting before. So this is definitely going to be a first for me. Looks like it's pretty similar to what the Premier One stuff is. So this is your charger to plug into the wall to charge it up, which I may just do that. It probably tells you to do that in the user manual anyway. I know Premier One does the same thing. So I will plug that in. In the meantime, I can sit out here, pick up some sun. But during the day, I'm not too worried about predators getting in there. It's just nighttime. So obviously this will all be done at nighttime. It does give you a voltage tester. So you have a hook on here that you would just hook onto the fencing, and then just make sure that you're getting, so hook this onto the fencing and then use this other lead, touch it on, and it'll tell you how many volts that you have. So it's handy to have these things. They're pretty universal. So the one that you get for this Vevor netting would work on other netting. Yeah. I think the one difference with these is how they ground. So I guess I need to look at that and figure out how it's grounded. I'm pretty sure you take this grounding rod here, run that in the ground, and then this gets set on the top, and that is the ground. Yep, that's going to be it. That's how it's grounded. That's kind of, I don't know, I kind of like that. I will say, maybe a little flimsy with the wind that I get around here. That could be an issue, but, and the wind might move this around. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty simple to move around. I mean, it's just a spike. Guess you could run the spike down as far down as you need to. Yeah. So a little different. As you guys know, the Premier One, if you have that, has the posts that slide on the bottom of the battery and the contain unit, and then you put the spike down on the ground, and then you slide that contain unit on it. This one's a little different. It sets on the top. So red, green. I'm assuming green's going to be your ground, and here on the back side, you would just loosen this up, put this connector through, so that's your ground, hook that into here, and then your power would go onto your fence. Pretty self-explanatory. But as always, grab the instruction manual and look over. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up. So it looks like this section here going to the next pole and one more here is roughly probably going to be 25 feet if it goes off of me counting it off. Just kind of give you guys an idea. So since it's 100 foot, I'm just going to do 25 feet on each side. And see what that looks like. Which should give me, I should get a couple moves out of it before I have to pick this fencing up and move it again. And again, like I said, the one thing that I really like about this Vevor netting is, oh man, now I'm gonna have to twist that twice, is that it's very lightweight compared to the Premier One stuff. If this was something you were looking for like a more permanent style fence, like you were going to try to keep your livestock there for a longer period of time, I don't know how well it'll hold up. These posts are plastic, so them sitting in the sun is going to be the test to see how they hold up. Don't get me wrong, Premier One stuff is plastic as well, but this is definitely a thinner type of plastic than the Premier One stuff. I really do think that this netting is going to work perfect for what I have going on. Oh. Looks like it came out here on the bottom. We'll get it laid out. Might be a little easier. It's so much lighter though. Whew. I'll tell you, that double spike Premier One stuff, it's kind of heavy when you're doing it all by yourself and working throughout the day, and then it's time to go move something. So I do like that this stuff is really lightweight. I know I've said that a bunch of times, but I do like that. All right, before I show you guys the fence, I want to show you what you will have to do on the battery and the charger if you buy it with this option. So Vevor, if you're listening, thank you for doing this and making it to where I don't have to carry tools to take care of this. So these just unscrew. I think it's awesome when companies think like that, so that's awesome. You will have to hook up this negative and positive cable to the tops of the terminals. I think you guys can see that. So these will not be hooked up when it first comes in, so just make sure you hook them up. You will see now that this is sitting in the sun, it's flashing red, which means it's charging off the sun. I am going to take this up to the house and just plug it in to let it charge for a couple hours today during the day, and then I'll bring it down here tonight, because as I said, for me, that's the big problem, is nighttime. Now looking through the kit, it does give you some of these spikes here and this orange rope, which is used to pull some of your sagging areas down. So with the Premier One netting, they give you the black posts that you can set up and attach a tether to, where this one, what you would do is tie it up here on the top, and since this is sagging here, I'm going to pull it this way, wrap it around this nail, and then just put the nail in the ground to pull it tight. And I mean, this is okay. I don't know that I will need to do this for my application, only because I'm not too worried about it, but I mean, it does, you could do it. So it does sure that up. So that's definitely obviously a lot tighter, and it's not sagging as much. As some of you guys know, you can also cheat and spin it like this to pull some of the sag out. For me, for the little bit that it's going to be set up in these areas, I don't know that I'm going to be too worried about it, because this is probably going to be getting moved once a week, if not twice a week, kind of depending on what their manure load looks like. But it definitely tighten that up a lot better. I'll probably do one here on this back corner because that's kind of sagging, so you can see where that's sagging. But no, I think this is going to work perfect. I went back over all that video footage that I had shot on this, and I decided to hold off on finishing this last part only because I wanted, since this was going to be a review, I wanted to try to get a couple days under my belt of this netting, of moving them down here, moving the broilers down here, and just kind of getting a better understanding of the product. I did notice there was a couple things that I said wrong, which if you noticed, I tried to fix it in editing. I have a Plasson water, so not a Platon water. I don't know why I kept saying that, but it's a Plasson water, so I'll show you guys that. And also the other thing that I noticed, and I'll get you guys set up here, on the charger, when this red light is flashing, it means it's turned on. So it's not like the Premier One that when that light is flashing red, that means the battery's low or anything like that. It's just when that's flashing, it just means it's turned on. So I guess when I was doing that, I was thinking that it was charging the fence when really it was actually pulsating. So I didn't have any leads hooked up to it, but at the time it was on and pulsating. Let me step you guys back a little bit. I'm going to talk about some of the really good features about this fence. I really like this fence. As I told you guys, it's lightweight, so it's really easy to move around. Now, I have not had to move this yet with the broilers. I've moved the broilers 5 or 6 times now, still in this confined area, and I still have a couple more spots that I can move them on. But the netting is really lightweight. I was a little worried about this grounding rod and how this was set up, but here's what I really like about it. It's really easy to turn this to stay with the sun. Now, I know with the Premier One, they tell you to set it up so it's facing due south, which is fine, but sometimes and I'll show you guys what I got going on here, when you're close to the vegetation like this, my sun's going to come up from over here. So I will start to get sunlight once it comes through here, but I'm not getting anything right now. So in the afternoon, when I come down here to check on these guys, I turn this to due south, but in the afternoon, when the sun shifts over this way, I can turn it this way so that I'm still catching sun and it's getting plenty of charge. So I do like that. I have noticed that when I have turned this, I've come back down and maybe the wind has caught it or this thing shifted. So that might be something that I have to get used to and try to figure out. But all in all, it's really easy to deal with. Again, you have your red lead that runs over here to the fence. And then your green lead here is your ground. And then you just clip that onto the bottom of the grounding rod. Probably one of the big drawbacks that I have with this, and the fence is off, so I'm not going to shock myself, because it's a cheaper fence, maybe not as good quality as a Premier One. These clasps, where anybody that has a Premier One knows these things get kind of tight sometimes, and it's hard to get them in. These are kind of loose, so you have to pinch them in quite often to keep them from being tight. And then I use the alligator clips as an extra security. I do that with my Premier One stuff too, but just as an added security in case the clips came loose, or these little slides came loose, the alligator clip can still hold it on there. All in all, really happy with this fence though. I think this is going to work out perfect for us for our broilers and for our turkeys in July. Look, Lily's stalking Ruby. Look at her. So Ruby's over here. And Lily's going to pounce on her. This is what these two do all the time. Oh, never mind. Now the chickens have messed it up because they see me. Look at them. They're like, what is he doing? He should have already moved this thing. We should be eating right now. All right, so I think it's going to work good for us here with that. And I also think when I finally can get the garden straight up here, I think I'm going to buy another set of this fencing for our garden to help keep the deer and everything else out. So I'm going to go ahead and get these guys moved just so you can kind of see what I have to do to get these guys moved. And then that will pretty much finish up this video. Again, if you are interested in this Vevor electric netting, please use the link down in the bottom of this description and help support us. We really appreciate all the support we've been getting from our viewers and our subscribers. And yeah, let's get these guys moved. I'll go over what I'm doing for you guys. So the first thing I do is I have to pick up the back section of this chicken tractor and put the wheels on the axles. The reason that I take the wheels off after I move them is in the event something was to get through that fencing, which I don't think they would, but if they did, it's just an added security so this back part of the chicken tractor isn't sitting with about an 1 or 2 inch gap, giving something easy access to be able to dig under there. So this 5-gallon bucket is hooked up to the Plasson water. So I'm just going to take that off of the feed trailer. I'm also going to move the feed trailer out of the way. And this was another reason why I just use this old John Deere wagon. So that way I'm not having to cart feed down all the time. I do have to bring water with me, but I just load that in the Vevor ATV cart, which there's a link down in the description if you guys are interested in that. I use that thing every day. That I'm so glad I picked up that cart. That cart has definitely been a lifesaver. All right, now that stuff's moved out of the way, I'm basically just going to move these guys so that they are on fresh grass. Once they're on fresh grass, then I'll stop the move. But as you can see, they walk up towards the front because they know exactly what's happening. You do just kind of got to take your time because they sometimes don't move very fast, and you can pinch their little legs, so you don't want to do that. Now I have thought about maybe building a platform on the back of this chicken tractor so that I can set the 5-gallon bucket up there so the Plasson water, I don't have to pick up this bucket and move stuff around. I could even maybe build it strong enough to put some feed on it. I'm not quite sure, but definitely a 5-gallon bucket I could easily do. All right, so there's that. Now we are completely on fresh grass. Make sure this isn't pinched. One thing I like about this Plasson water, it's 5 gallons. It's 5 gallons of water. And any of you guys that know anything about broilers know how much water these guys drink. They absolutely crush some water. It's also very easy to clean. So I usually have a little bit of leftover water from what I didn't top off from yesterday. So I will put that inside that Plasson water and clean it out. But before I go in there, Lily, Ruby, come. I'm going to go ahead and give these guys their feed and get them occupied while I take care of the water and everything else. Look at them. Look at them. And here's the best part. They can come out, and they do. And I'm just going to dump feed in, and then they're all going to come running back in. Now, the nice thing about this John Siskocevich style trailer, chicken tractor, I mean, is that you have the ability to be able to walk in there. This is probably a little bit more expensive, especially if you're buying your own lumber to build this. But I was able to raise my turkeys in it last year. So the way I'm looking at it, I think this is a good design for me, because not only can I do my broilers in the spring, but in the summer when the turkeys come in, I can also use this for the turkeys, house them. Now, I think with the turkeys, what I'm going to do different is leave this door open so that they can come in and out and just use this as their feed and water. And then I'm almost thinking about putting roosting poles in here, tying the feeders up out of the way. I'll leave the water there, but put roosting poles in here so they can roost in here at night. So when I come down in the afternoon to check on them, it would just be clip that trough feeder to the back and then put roosting poles up. I don't know, we'll try it out, see how it goes. Last year, I only ended up having 2 turkeys. So I just left them in here and they just sat on the ground. They didn't roost, but I only had the 2. So what I'm doing now is skirting around these guys, and I'm cleaning out this Plasson water, just getting all the excess dirt and dust and grit that comes from them foraging and messing around. And that's clean now. And then I'll get this feed wagon set up, and I'll just set it up off here to the side. I really use the wagon just as a way to get this 5-gallon bucket up in the air so that it can gravity feed down to the water. But as you can see, I can leave that door open, and they're so consumed in their feed right now, they are not worried about coming out. Now, I kept my line here long only because this was the first time of using this water, so I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work. So I didn't want to cut myself too short. So each time that I move it, it's just kind of moving it around so that it gets a good flow. But I will tell you, even if it's at a high point, with it being high, as long as your water is high than what the water is, it will gravity feed down just like it should. Let me grab this 5-gallon bucket, put some fresh water in there for them, and then these guys will be good really for the rest of the day for water. I still come down and check on them just to make sure that there's no problems with the water. Lily, get out of there. Come on. All right, so I'll bring you guys over so you can kind of, if you've never seen these Plasson waters, I'll show you how they work. So again, gravity fed, right? So there's the bucket there with the line coming down, and it comes into here. It has 2 spouts on the inside, and you can see the spout on the back side is filling the bowl up. And what it has is it has a counterweight on the inside and then a valve up here in the top. You fill that inside counterweight up with about a 1/2 to 3/4 full of water. And then as the water comes into the valve, that counterweight, once the bowl starts to fill up, that's what slows down. So you can see on the back side there, it is now coming to a trickle instead of a steady stream, because if you look down in the trough part, which might be hard because of the hardware cloth, it's filling up the rim. So it's counterbalancing itself. So as the broilers drink out of it and they relieve some of that weight down in the bottom of the bowl of the water, then the counterweight on the inside then starts to move, and when it does, it opens up the valve on the top to let water come down from the 5-gallon bucket. Now, if I describe that wrong, I'm sure somebody will point it out. People are always quick to point out things when you word it wrong or say something wrong. But I really don't care, because this is what I care about. These guys being happy, these guys being safe, and come Monday, they will be 6 weeks old. So yes, a couple more weeks and then they will be getting processed and put into our freezer for us. So if you like this kind of stuff, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, follow us along. If you're interested in this Vevor netting, again, link down in the description. Really appreciate everybody. And with that said, I guess I'll see you on the next one.